Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Online Trading Academy. As always, my name is Josh Littlequist. And in that last segment, we were talking about the earnings season. It's earnings time and how it's just bringing some phenomenal volatility to the market, great moves in the markets. And what is good in earnings does not always reflect good in the markets. We mentioned Tesla and, no, was it Tesla? Yeah, Tesla and
Netflix and Tesla.
not having too stellar of a day on Thursday after the earnings came out on Wednesday. So that's why we want to make our setups and our entry points and our exit points all based off of supply and demand, which is the strategy that we have here at Online Trading Academy. Is supply and demand is actually an economic law. When prices go up, it's because there's more demand of something. Just like anything in life, when prices go up, when you look at homes over the past several years, they kept going up and up and up, and people were continuing to buy them because there was so much demand. Now that they've raised interest rates, there's less demand. Now you're seeing that little down arrow on homes. Unfortunately, interest rates are so high, it's brought their purchase power down, which means their payments are higher, they're getting less of a home. So in the financial markets, we can have those same setups, and we're going to explain that and introduce you to that concept here on this next segment here. But if you missed tickets to that investing class that we do here locally, just text the word investing to the number 210-210 and do that right now. When you do that, you're going to get a text right back, and it's going to say, "Welcome to Investing and Trading Live." And you're going to have a link right there. You click the link, and you can do this all from your phone, your mobile device, as they would call it. And it'll bring you right to our landing page. You can pick your own date for this class. We have these classes during the week. We have them on the weekend. We have them in the mornings. We have them in the evenings. So pretty much anybody can attend on any schedule. So that being said, Al, I want to get into those setups we're alluding to. We have a lot of people listening right now that have great jobs, and they do want to continue to do that. They don't want to quit their jobs. Great. You should never just quit your job for any reason, because that's a source of income. But we have some people that want to do more. They want to have more financial freedom. They want to have more choices in life. And they want to look at the market to have that opportunity, or to give them or bridge that gap to do that. So to have income setups in the market, like you were talking about in that first segment, you got to have an entry point and a small stop and a much larger target to protect yourself on both ends. And you can do that all while you're at work, which means you can do it at night. You can do it in the mornings. You can do it at any time of day, because how trading and investing is all set up now, it's all electronic, which is phenomenal for us. And the computer or the platform is where you place those trades and investments. It'll actually execute that automatically for you. So nobody should ever just quit their job, because that's a source of income. Why not having the opportunity to have an income strategy on top of that job? And that's how, we'll talk about in the next segment. That's how you really create and build wealth. So, Al, kind of walk our listeners through here today that trade setup and what that might look like for somebody that works during the day or evening. It doesn't matter, but they want to have that second income strategy.
Yeah, multiple sources of income are important. All of the truly successful people financially in this country, if not in the world, have multiple sources of income, but not multiple jobs. The one thing you don't want to do is devote your time to something other than what you want to devote it to. You want to spend time with your family. You want to spend time fishing or golfing or whatever it is you want to do. I think that's really the true definition of success for our students, is being able to control their time and do with it what they want when they want.
Fishing is great, Al, but golf, that's sometimes pain for some people.
It can be very frustrating. Yeah,
but it is fun. It is fun.
That is true. Yeah, whatever it is you want to do, wouldn't it be more enjoyable in your life to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it?
That's those choices.
Oftentimes that means more money. It means you have to have a more stable financial situation. Multiple sources of income are a great way of doing that. And especially now, it's even more important now because of what's happened over the last year or so with inflation. The cost of being alive has just increased significantly. And what we're seeing is people are trying to, well, let me take a step back here. What's happened up until this point is a lot of people still had stimulus money that they were spending.
They call them stimmy checks.
Stimmy checks,
That's what the
and
kids
they
call
just
them.
weren't. When you're sitting at home, you're not traveling, you're not doing anything, you're not spending money. So they had a kind of a built up stash of money. People are pretty much burned through that, or pretty much have burned through that now. And what we're seeing is an increase in the use of credit cards, the increase in use of home equity loans. Those are things that are putting people into a situation where they're really kind of digging themselves into a hole. And if you have an additional source of income, that can be what you use to do what you want to do instead of having to go into credit to do it. If you look at credit cards, I mean, you're looking at 20% or so or higher interest rates. It's really hard to ever get out of that hole that you're digging yourself when you are having a negative impact of 20 plus percent hits on your on a monthly or annual basis. So sources of income, how do you do that without spending a lot of your time doing it? A lot of people have been conditioned to believe that if you're going to trade or invest, you have to spend all your time sitting in front of a computer. As Josh was alluding to, you don't, in fact, not only don't have to, you shouldn't do that. You should be able to identify on a price chart if there is a good investment. Where is that investment? Doesn't make any difference what it is, really. It's is there a point at which the facts will come into play, and the facts are what moves price up and what moves price down. Those are the two things that are really important in identifying whether there is a good position to take, a good investment, or a good trade. Then you can preset that. The worst thing you can do is sit in front of a computer and watch what's happening. So set a trade. If you have the two exit positions properly identified, and the quality of those is going to be based on your entry price to begin with. But those two exit points, as I mentioned earlier, one is an exit if you're wrong, and one is an exit if you're right. And if you have those preset, then you can go away and with a feeling of confidence, know if you pick the right price, you're going to be into a trade. If you're wrong, you have a small loss, but you're automatically out. If you're right, and this is where a lot of people fall apart, is they don't know how to identify a proper target. So if you have a profit, you have that profit target set realistically, then the software does the work for you there too. So you're protected whether you're wrong, whether you're right. That's how our students learn to trade. And the bottom line is you keep it simple by just identifying when price is going to move.
Yeah, I like how you brought that up, and you kind of made me think about, something that we have here at the Academy. It's called OTA picks, and us as adults, we're visual learners, and there's a thing called OTA picks, which it has entry points, protection on both ends, and it's a trade setup
Sure.
for our students. So, I want to give away kind of an illustration of that with that for people that text in right now for 2 seats for an investing class. And in these investing classes, we'll actually show you how that's done, what that looks like, because we are visual learners. So just text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 seats for this class. And when you do that, you're going to also receive the Professional Insiders Kit that has those OTA picks in there. It's going to illustrate how that actually works so that you can peek at that on your own time. So text investing right now to the number 210 for 2 seats for an investing class locally here at the Academy. Is a physical hands-on place to go. We got a state-of-the-art facility here right off the highway here in Bloomington. You were explaining something a little earlier, Al, about over the past year or so, a couple of years, people have just been sitting home and not spending money. And I was actually, you kind of had me think about, I was on as you know, I like to travel. And I was just out in Florida. And I was on the plane, I was talking with some guy, and we were just talking about stuff, and he was corporate America guy. And he was kind of explaining a little bit about what's happened in their work culture, but it's really been happening everywhere in the world, is because of people have been sitting at home, they've been doing nothing, they've become very complacent. And he was explaining how at their workplace, people didn't care if they did well. They didn't care if they were working hard. And then he was kind of seeing with people's finance, because he's good friends with a lot of people, and he was seeing with people's finances that people were complacent, having just bare bones minimum just to get by, and they felt they were like he said he could see that people just were comfortable getting by, which is really sad, because you do that for a course of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. down that road, it's not going to be a road that you want to go down because you're not going to realize until later how that impacts you financially. So I want you to kind of explain a little bit more about why complacency really hurts people in their finances more than anything.
Well, complacency, it can happen in a number of different ways. For a while there, people were complacent because they felt the market was going to continue to go up, and anything they had in a 401k or an IRA or basically anything they invested in was making money. They just assumed that was going to continue until 2022 hit. When 2022 hit, the people were awakened to the fact that the market doesn't just continue to go up. And now complacency, what you're talking about is a totally different attitude towards work and
Hmm.
towards responsibility. It's what we're facing, and unfortunately, it's going to have a big impact on how companies' bottom lines turn out. Because if you look at what causes or creates productivity for companies, it's with their people. It's how their people work. It's how productive are your individuals. And if you have people that are just okay being average, it doesn't speak well for the future of this country. I can guarantee you, in countries like China, for example, that's not how their kids are being raised. That's not the attitude that they have or that they're allowed to have. So this is actually something that we all should be concerned about, because when you go into retirement, there's two things you have to rely on now. And unless you have a pension, most people now don't have a pension, or their pensions are not funded properly. But if typically you can rely on Social Security and whatever savings you have. Social Security is in trouble, but Social Security is funded by people that are working. And if fewer people are working, if they're not working harder, if they're not earning more money, there's less going into that Social Security bucket. So
What's
now
the
they're
insolvency year? Is it
about
2030?
2030, 2035, somewhere in that range. But how are we going to take care of that? Maybe we have to raise the retirement age. Maybe we have to increase taxes, Social Security taxes. But something has to be done to shore that up, because that is what a lot of the people in this country rely on. You can't control Social Security, but you can control your savings, your retirement savings. If you're complacent enough to just be average and earn enough just to pay your bills, you're not going to have anything to put into that bucket for your later years, your retirement years. One of the things that we hear our students say all the time, Josh, is, "Gosh, I wish I had done this earlier. I wish I
Yeah.
had done something different earlier." The time that you don't want to say that. You want to go into retirement and have to say that, because you don't get a chance to do it over. Now is the time, no matter how old you are. It doesn't make any difference what's happened in the past to you or where you are right now. The opportunities are there. And the sad thing is, there are more excuses than there are opportunities. So it's easy to come up with an excuse, but if you are letting opportunities pass you by, that's something that you will never get back. Once they're gone, they're gone. But they're here on a regular basis, and we're seeing that now. This is probably one of the best environments, investing environments or trading environments, that we have seen for years, giving anybody out there the opportunity to benefit if you know how to do it. I
Yep.
mean, the markets are available to anyone, which is a great thing and a bad thing. It's great if you know what you're doing, and it's bad if you don't. But
Yep.
the education is available, the knowledge is available. We take that knowledge. We don't just look at teaching as giving you knowledge; it's building skills.
Yep. And that's why we have these investing classes here locally, Al, is because they don't teach this anymore. They don't teach it in schools. They don't teach it in high school, elementary, and college. They may teach regular economics, but that's not investment. That's just economics. And that doesn't help your investing or trading or your wealth building, which we'll talk about in the next segment. So to come into one of these classes, we'll show you how that works. We'll introduce you to these techniques, these different concepts, and how to have those income strategies on top of that job, even if you have that normal corporate America job, like I was explaining about the guy I was talking to on the plane. But just text the word investing to the number 210 right now for 2 seats for the investing class. When you do that, you're going to receive that insider's kit that has those picks in there to kind of see how that's done, to illustrate those trade setups. And then when you come in, we'll be able to show you that in a physical setting. Text investing to the number 210. Coming up next, we're going to talk about how to build wealth, not by working harder, not by working smarter, but working right. So stay tuned. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back.